Greetings humans, my name is Slady and welcome to my channel. I started this channel in hopes of joining the booktube community, but soon realized that I could not keep up. I am completely unable to consistently make book haul vlogs or monthly wrap-ups of what I've read. However, in the month of January, I kind of killed it, for me anyway. That means that I've got a couple pieces of literature to introduce to you and give my thoughts on. Welcome to my first wrap-up video. The first book that I read in the new year was a comic book. It was Deadpool v Gambit, the V is for verses. I started off easy to get my confidence up, okay? To summarize, DVG features my favorite superpowered being, Deadpool, in a sort of heist adventure with Gambit. The pairing is cute when they're actually interacting with each other, but I had a lot of complaints about the execution of the story, which I'll be covering in a separate video. I gave this only a 1 out of 5 stars because I had to push through it at the end, and I did not have fun reading it other than the intro, and that has never before been my experience with Deadpool literature. My second read of the year was Trigger Warning by Neil Gaiman, which is an anthology of some of his shorter works that didn't have a proper home. Neil Gaiman is an amazing writer, and there's something to be enjoyed in every short story in this anthology. That said, as much as it is a flaw addressed in the foreword, its lack of consistency can't be overlooked, at least not by me. It was a jarring experience to go from mythos-driven short stories to poems not properly line-edited for the edition. I would suggest picking this up if you like Neil Gaiman, but don't read them in order. Nitpick what you're looking for at the time and come back again later. I gave this anthology 3 stars because the writing is good, but if I were to focus on the fact that it had no theme, I'd normally have rated it a little bit lower. I really value consistency in theme. My third read of the year was Crab by William Bell. It's probably just a 90s Canadian kid thing, but everyone I know has heard or read Crab in public school. I never wrote a book report about Crab, so my brain didn't register that I had already read it as a kid. I literally saw it in the library and picked it up with the thought in my head, I never got to read this when I was a kid. I should now. When I got to the climax of the story, I was hit with a certain kind of deja vu and realized that I had read this before. I was like, oh, that's gonna happen. I felt a bit dumb, but also, it's whatever. That is not to say that Crab is a forgettable book. To the contrary, because its ending flooded back to me after over a decade having read it. I had a different book on my shelf as a kid called The Other Side of the Mountain, which also features a young man surviving in the wilderness on the cusp of puberty, so my adolescent brain probably just mixed them up. Sorry, William Bell. You deserve better than me. That said, I love Crab. I think it's an amazing book for preteens, and it's still enjoyable to read as an adult. Crab is an endearing character I could really connect with, but as he grows through his experience, even now I kind of grew with him. The ending was about acceptance and understanding, but not moral compromise, which I think a lot of us associate with living in a society or interacting with parents. I highly recommend picking up Crab, and I give it a solid 4 out of 5 stars. The last book I finished was The Winnowing by Vicky Van Sickle. I'm an honest person, and it's probably easy to see through me, so I'll just admit it. I picked this up because of the cover art. It's so green. Crab was a young adult book, but it's also a classic, and those tend to appeal to all ages. I was still in that section when I saw this, and also thought I'd expand my horizons. For a young adult book, it wasn't bad. I wasn't pained reading it as I sometimes am, but I think that was because it was geared for a younger audience. It wasn't trying to be edgy for teens. The Winnowing was nominated for a Red Maple Prize, so it probably couldn't have been edgy regardless. The characters were cutouts, the plot was simple, the world building had me questioning things, like how the main character only faces conflict when the plot wants it. But overall, it was an easy read and I finished it. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars because regardless of its genre, I expect a bit more from books. I would like to say that Van Sickle had some good metaphors, and I'm glad that she knew when to cut the story. Some authors drag stories so they can make sequels, or drag sequels because they didn't want to stop writing the first one. I don't know which. But The Winnowing was suited for a standalone. I will have a bit of a fun rantish video planned for the worst young adult sci-fi dystopia that I have ever read, but I'm hoping to reach some sort of subscriber goal before that. And there will be a small video specifically about The Winnowing and to expand on why the difference in age or audience that it was aimed for changed how I felt about it. Lastly, I have not read but am currently reading We Need to Talk About Kevin. It's the first book I started this year, actually, and I'm only about 100 pages in. I love the writing of this book. I'm vibing hard with the main character, Eva, but the language is a lot. I'm taking it one chapter at a time, so keep an eye out for a video on that too in the coming future. More than likely be another comparison video of the book and the film adaptation, which I have already seen and is pretty great, which is why I picked up the book in the first place. So, that's everything that I've read in 2020 so far. If you feel so inclined, hop in the comments below, let me know what you've read. If you've read any of these books, tell me how you feel about them. Like and subscribe if you want more content from me. I'm Slady, and I will see you in the next video.